Welcome to the second episode of Dhamma Trips. Welcome back. And I am here today with Hasith Abeywardana. Yeah. And to to talk on several topics actually. There's no one topic, but mainly about an agnostic approach, a different kind of belief system to the world, and mainly going to be discussing on that. So, can you give like a small introduction to yourself?
So I'm a final year medical student with you, same
Batch.
batch. And I think we share a lot of similar ideas when it comes to beliefs or whatever consists of stuff around that of the world. But definitely there are differences, and you realize when you listen to us.
Yeah, and we used to engage in like a lot of conversation, especially like in the past few years. Yeah, almost every other day, and like get deep into certain topics.
Very long.
Yeah. And we thought of like sharing that with you and just involving you also in the conversation, and to engage another kind of crowd who also thinks openly, who questions things, and
I'm sure there are a lot of people who think similarly around it.
And since it's not a very broadly discussed topic, I think more and more people are now beginning to talk about it, especially and it's good. It's good if you are listening to it and you can relate to some of this stuff. And if you have any questions with it and you want to join in on the discussion, please reach us. You can leave a comment.
Yeah, you can drop a comment.
Yeah. And get on with the discussion. Okay, so the first topic, where I want to go on ahead with is God. Let's talk about God. Let's get into that. Yeah,
straight into.
Yeah. Do you believe in God?
I don't believe in God per se, but I don't disbelieve it either, in the sense that I believe in the idea of maybe there's something that created everything around us. But in the sense of like rituals and worshipping this, because there's so many gods, right?
Yeah.
And that's where, which is your God?
Yeah, no, but do you believe in like one God who created everything?
I don't believe nor disbelieve that, because I mean, if you take a look around us, everything's pretty intricately designed, right?
Yeah,
it's a lot of it's a lot to leave to chance and to coincidence.
Yeah, it's hard to say that it's from probability. Everything was
for sure.
Yeah,
you can say that. You can say it's the Big Bang and then so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Billions of years of things happening and going wrong and then going right that gave rise to it,
and eventually it gave, like, even if you take like a leaf or like a cobweb, there are certain specific geometric kind of patterns which are, even the eye, like this symmetry and the geometry and the specificity is like
just the vast range of things. Everything's very different from everything else. There's no real. It's like a very complex sort of system. It's not something you can even think about creating. Everything's very.
Yeah, but then the belief stems to, if there's something so complex and so well done, then there's a good chance that a higher power was responsible for this. Is that?
Yeah, I think that's the belief of a lot of people who believe in God.
Yeah.
So I don't worship a God per se, but I'm open to the idea.
You're open to the idea, but you don't like necessarily believe it.
No,
but you're open to it.
Yeah.
Do you believe that you can come into contact with it? I think that's the whole concept of prayer, if I'm not mistaken, where people try to communicate with God. Do you think it's a possibility?
I don't think I agree with that part of it, in the sense that I don't think there's a specific way in all these different religions and different gods to, if you do this, you will get to, come in contact with God, you will get something in return.
Yeah.
I don't think it works that way. But again, I don't want to say like, I'm fixed on this.
Yeah.
Because at the end, we know very little about stuff. It's hard to say, I'm sure, I'm certain this is the way. This is the way we are going to get, meet, come face to face with God or get to a better place.
Yeah, and that's a dangerous one also. Like if you are completely fixed on a certain belief and you're not open to anything else outside, then you shut off like an entire spectrum of things.
I think that's where a lot of extremism arises.
Yeah.
Right? You're ready to go and do whatever it takes in order for you to get there.
Yeah. Especially with related to like religions and people wanting everyone to follow their religion and going into extreme measures into doing that. It's all stemming from the place where they believe that no, my belief is a 100% right. No, it's not even a belief at that point. It's like it is the ultimate truth, or like but
it's a fact in their mind at that point,
and that's very dangerous. I think, for sure.
I think. It comes down to perception, because you can't really say if no matter how hard you believe in something, someone else you meet might believe even hard or even strong in their beliefs, and then there's a conflict of beliefs, but you can't really say, this is this way I think and this way I've been brought up and brought to think, and this mindset, my mindset is 100% the right one. I don't think you can come to that conclusion. That's just very that seems very like arrogant to me.
Yeah. So what's the meter you think? What's the meter you think where one person is? I mean, do you believe that there is one truth out there in like the universe? I mean, call it God or call it what you must. Like there is a truth where this world like runs on.
You're saying you're asking me if there's a singular truth that I believe in. Or I believe if there's one single truth and one way that everything should conform.
Yeah. The latter. Yeah, the last one you said. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Because there can't be multiple.
There can't be multiple truths. But why not? Why can't there be multiple truths? Because everything is in unison at the same place, and there must be one thing which connects all these other things together, no?
Yeah, at the base of it all, at the end of it all, there should be a singular truth. Otherwise, everything would conflict.
Yeah. Everything wouldn't be able to coexist if there wasn't like one thing at the core, no?
Yeah.
But I think where your belief comes in is that you believe that we can never really know what this truth is.
Yeah, I think maybe one day we can, but I don't think in the recent, like in this time or in the recent future we can.
Okay. So do you believe it's from like a civilization perspective where we get advanced as a civilization, and then everyone as a whole comes into this understanding, or what did you mean when you said one day?
No, I'm saying maybe there's a possibility that one day, if there is, let's say, if there is a God, and he were to show up, I don't think it's going to be in this lifetime or in the recent future, because they've been saying that about all these gods for the past hundreds and hundreds of years, right?
That they're going to come back.
Yeah, and they're coming soon, and they're coming back.
But no sign.
Yeah, but then I think maybe if you are talking about like scientific advancements to the point of where we can see some evidence of it, maybe that's possible. Because if you look back at where we were hundreds of years ago and the technology and all this shit, stuff that is there now.
No, you can.
Yeah. Then it's not hard to imagine that it can happen. But do you think
well, if
we are anywhere close?
Yeah, so I don't hold the belief where as a civilization we are going to go into that understanding. That's mainly because I don't know, it doesn't seem okay. So even with the beliefs we have up to now, with like evolution and there's a lot of scientific backing for a lot of things. Take climate change, for example. Like there's a lot of scientific backing for that. But still, we only have a very, not a very small, but we only have a portion of people who still accept that and go ahead with it. While there's a huge group of people who even deny that this is a thing. If just taking the example of climate change, for example. So I always think it's only going to be a certain portion of people who will be open to the truth. So even though we advance into it, even though we come into a time where maybe we can look deeper, and even though certain facts are like staring at their face, I don't think a lot of people would come into terms with it.
You're saying there will still be people who contradict it, regardless of the amount of evidence or whatever.
For sure. I think for sure, yeah. And because of that, I think the idea of the entire human civilization moving into like in unison, hand in hand, into an understanding of what the universe is
into
not
singular truth.
Into singular truth is not a practical one in my this thing. I feel like that's more of a fantasy. But I also realize that is a belief like a lot of the scientific community believes in the sense that, you know, like you said, like with the progress which has been done up to now, later on people will go deeper and deeper and find out, eventually unravel the secrets of the universe.
Yeah, but the thing is, when it comes to all these different belief systems, there's always in some there are similarities, right?
Okay, yeah.
But there's always
You mean with religions and everything, yeah.
In religions and then belief systems of God and so on.
I think again, what it's trying to do is it's trying to explain that one thing, that one core truth, which is the core of reality.
Yeah.
And they have different approaches to try to explain it.
But this has been going on for millions of years.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to see how someone who wanted to give that message at the start and then the translation of it got lost along the way, and now it's just, you know, people are just following something completely different.
And I think essentially that's what all religion is. Even like initially it was something spiritual. I think spiritual is the word. It was something pure at its core, and they preached it, and a lot of people resonated with it. But then society adapted this so they can incorporate into like a value system to teach people. Then it became a set of rules rather than this kind of a new perspective to what life is. Like, and that's what even Buddhism has become. Yeah, Buddhism has become. I think it's completely misunderstood, especially here. Like, because we have like such a history with Buddhism, we can see how it's essentially to control society. This in the same way how the church was used to control society. And although some of it is true, almost all of it, the rest of it is misinterpreted.
Yeah, but at the base of it, I think there's something very pure that a lot of people take comfort in, right?
Yeah, for sure.
With any religion.
For sure.
With Buddhism, I think the thing is, the key difference here is that most religions teach you to look on the outside, right? And Buddhism, it teaches you to look on the inside.
Yeah.
So it's a stark difference with all the other religions. But my problem arises when you say that, okay, so you have to look on the inside.
Yeah.
And then how do you know that really is the way, or that really is the key to, you know, get into the truth?
Yeah. And my answer to that is basically, so this again goes into the part of what we talked about knowing. Yeah. Like, when is it a strong belief? So what's the difference? Say you believe the truth and know the truth. I think there's like a distinct difference between the two. Like, you can really believe something, but that doesn't make it true just because you believe it.
You mean through faith?
Yeah, through faith. Because although there is definitely comfort, I don't think it makes it a fact.
For sure.
Yeah. And even Buddhism, I think a lot of the way like most people practice is, I mean, initially you have to believe something, but you should not confuse that, I think, with knowing. Yeah, because some people talk about like rebirth and like them knowing that, you know, they're reborn, and I don't know, like some people talk like Jeeviteva Dukak, and you know, like they speak on these Buddhist philosophies, and they don't really understand it, but because it is their belief system they are taught, they speak on it. I'm not saying I understand either, but I also realize that up to a big extent, this is still a belief. Like, I don't know it as a truth. And I want to make that distinction always. Like, yeah. And then I think the meter for understanding and believing the difference is where the dukkha comes in. Basically, where this you wouldn't be affected. And I think this is the controversial bit. Like, I think if you understood the world, if you understood your mind really for what you are, you wouldn't be affected by it. You wouldn't be affected by scenarios outside. Because if you take any person's day, it's throughout the day he has a bunch of highs and a bunch of lows. But there are distinct lows which happen.
Yeah.
And even though no one wants to go into a low state of mind. No? And by a low state of mind, I mean, they may be in fear, they may be stressed out, they may be upset about something, they may be angry, they may be annoyed.
And you're not always aware of it.
Yeah. You can get lost in it.
Yeah.
And I think, so those two go hand in hand. When you start understanding what your mind is and when you start understanding what reality is, those states automatically disappear because of understanding, because of knowing. You can't, and you can't believe real hard that those states will disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is with any religion, I think they have all these, like you said, it's a system of beliefs and faith. But I think the noblest way to go about it is to practice it. Like
sure.
What you're saying. If you just rely on faith, that's just a belief. But if you practice it, whichever religion, if you practice it and see it for what it is, and then you see the benefits of it, then yeah, sure, that's I think that makes a lot more sense than just being told what to do and being told by previous generations or whoever, and then just blindly following.
Yeah, because there's no point in believing that if it's not going to benefit you and the people around you, no? Yeah.
So I think that's where spirituality comes in a lot too, right? I think more than religion, for sure, religion is important in the sense that even these rules that you said that religion has set about over the years of controlling people.
Yeah.
I think there's two sides. It's like there's a flip side to it where I'm sure there are a lot of people that don't do bad stuff in the name of religion and they are afraid to sin or do whatever bad things they would do just because of religion. So there's sort of control there.
And I think, up to a certain extent, that control is important in society, Otherwise, but then again, if you take these atheist kind of countries, like if you take Europe and majority, I think I'm not really sure of it as a fact, but I think majority is atheist. Like more than 50% of the population is atheist. If you take USA, it's actually the opposite. Like majority of them are like Christians. But still, you don't see such a significant increase in crime rate or murder or anything in Europe. I don't know this one for sure, but I think basic human values exist within people and they don't really need someone else to tell them what they are. But then I'm not so sure about that.
I think it affects. I think this it only affects a certain amount of people. I think a lot of people can go about just living their lives with basic human values, regardless of whether religion has told them to or not.
But do you think it arises from parents in school and all?
For sure, it's definitely a generational, cultural.
It's also adapted. No, like someone has to kind of give it to them. Ne?
Yeah, and it's come to a point where religion and culture have intertwined and it's become like a very... that's not what's supposed to be. Religion is supposed to be something pure and completely separate from culture. But now it has become like a whole system.
But now more and more we see like people moving into spirituality and not religion, no?
Yeah, I think that's important in the sense that spirituality in the sense of like thinking for yourself and finding yourself and just coming to terms with your thoughts and emotions is much more important than following any faith. First of all, because and that seems to be what's lacking.
Yeah. A lot of people don't spend even a few moments of their life, I think, like looking at them, looking what's going on inside them, questioning the emotions
Yeah.
and why they are feeling this way. They would rather get caught up in the emotion and try to change the world outside without just saying, okay, why is this affecting me so much? Why is this bringing me down so much? People would rather never question that.
A lot of people lack insight in that sense. But I think even if they were to question, I think it scares a lot of people, right? Coming.
Yeah. And I think it's a stressful experience, no?
For sure.
For the first time, like doing that, because you are coming into an entirely new dimension of yourself, which you thought was under control. But now that you're looking, you see, oh shit, like nothing is under control. Like it's chaotic almost.
Yeah.
And even with me, I think like and I think there are levels to it where you can go deeper. And it's a skill. It's almost like an instrument. Like even when you play it initially, you suck at it, and you take a while to get good at it. And even if a person decides, okay, I'm going to like just look at myself today, they probably won't do it pretty well on the first time because they can't. It takes time for you to adapt yourself to develop that lens of looking at yourself.
Yeah, it's not something you can force yourself to do.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not like I'm gonna, look at myself today and sort this stuff out. It's not like that. It's something that needs to arise from within, and it's something that I think needs the proper time also.
Why do you think it arises anyway? Like, why do you think me and you have it when relatively a lot of people don't?
Yeah, so I didn't have it before, right? I didn't have it for the longest time.
Yeah. When I first met you, I didn't think you had it. No?
Yeah, I never looked at that side of me. But then, a few years back, I started doing that, and then I noticed a stark contrast in what I was and what I am now. Like, for example, if I were to look back like 10 years from now, 10 years back, it's like a completely different person. I can't even imagine the thought processes or what was going on in my mind. It was just...
Was it the same thought process which were happening there, or wouldn't you know because you didn't really look into it? Or did you?
I was definitely not spiritual in any way. I definitely lacked insight, and it wasn't... I think I was just going about life. I wasn't really taking time to look within or find anything more.
And I think that's how a lot of people are, no?
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people are caught up in the daily living, right?
Yeah.
It's very easy to get caught up. You're going to work in the morning and you're coming back. If you have family, you have kids, you're going party and all this stuff. But I think with this COVID thing, a lot of people were forced to, get into their houses and spend a lot of time doing nothing.
And that they were almost forced to look at themselves, no? Yeah.
But I don't think even then a lot of people did that.
Yeah. Because I think there has to be a need for that. Like a person should come to a point in their lives where they're like, okay, now I have to do this. Like I need to know or I need to understand, and they have to actively look. Because I think it's easy to deny this and just keep it suppressed and just keep on like changing the world, changing the people around you, and like changing yourself even to what you think is better. But the approach of just sitting back and just watching is a much more difficult one to do.
Yeah. The movement of growth, like professionally or in any other context, is not the same as growth spiritually. Like it's very easy for people to go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Whether it's a job or whether it's a relationship or whatever it is. But it's very hard to, evolve in a spiritual sense. Yeah. And it's very hard to, I think, if you start and if you get that feeling that you have to do that, and if you sense a change, then I think you're on the path, because not a lot of people would have that itch to, do that in the first place.
Yeah, I think it starts for a lot of people when they have like something traumatic in their life.
For sure.
Not for all, but for most people, I think. When there's a really like significant event in their lives which kind of like forces them, which breaks their bubble which they're living in, it forces them to look inside,
reflect.
Yeah,
it disrupts the reality that they've known all their lives, and then they're forced to question it and think, why is this happening? Why am I reacting this way?
Yeah.
Is it the right way to react? And I think when the questioning begins, I think you're well on path.
See, I think those are the two approaches. You can either do that, or you can just get lost in it, and you can like go really down with it, and you can find other kind of harmful, maybe even coping mechanisms. Like some people can get into drugs and but this is not an easy approach. I think like looking at yourself requires a lot more courage, and it's not that going to war kind of courage. It's like a different kind of courage is necessary to like look inside. Like questioning your ego is not an easy thing. It's like
It's not. Questioning your ego and letting go of it and seeing the bigger picture, I guess, is very terrifying to a lot of people.
As it should be, no, because we've most of us, and even we, like, still up to even up a huge extent, we still identify with our ego, and like the ego is still what kind of drives us. We can't help it.
Even me and you, I think, even though we've dwelled into it, somewhat, I think we are far off from like being like a proper spiritual being in any way. It's
a slow process.
It's a slow, constant process of growth.
But also the other funny thing is like I can't look at you and I can't tell how much spiritually like I don't know how much you dwelled into yourself and how advanced you are in that sense, because physically it doesn't really show.
It won't show,
and like and that's the crazy part. Like, for example, like another person can look from outside and think, oh, like, this guy is not really doing too well in studies, or like, he doesn't seem to have his shit together. But, that particular person, necessarily could really internally be completely successful. Like, I mean, he might be in peace with like a lot of things. A lot of things might not be affecting him. And he might have like a deeper understanding, but on the outside, he looks like a not successful person.
But I think, do you think it shows in certain ways also once you've gone down that path and once you've come to terms with a lot of things? I think it will probably show in your behavior, right? Like, I guess your mind becomes a lot more, your mind and the way you see things and perceive things will become a lot more open. In the sense that,
for sure. But how will that reflect to a person who is looking at you? How will that
let's say you're having a conversation with a person and you come to terms with yourself and you looked into things and you gain some insight, and then I guess in conversation it would show.
In conversation would it show?
I don't think that person would be conformed to a lot of close mind.
For sure. Like if you do have a conversation with him, you'll easily be able to pick up on it, no? And I don't mean by the mannerisms of what they speak and their volume or like the gestures or whatever. I don't think they'll be like saintly, like really calm or that. But I think like they wouldn't be complaining. Like they wouldn't be like, they wouldn't be angry. I don't know. Like they wouldn't be complaining. I feel like that's like majority of conversation which happens is like scolding someone else or like looking down upon someone else and making yourself kind of look big. And I don't think that those characteristics would be exhibited, but also then it's hard to say because they might not be doing that, but you might judge as them doing it.
I think what you're referring to is ego, right? I think there would be a lot less ego involved.
And they wouldn't get angry like
easily.
At all. Like I mean, like from my set of beliefs, like what I believe is a person who has like attained nibbana or whatever, that kind of person obviously cannot get angry at all. Like it cannot even arise that thought within them. Like even if it does arise, that would just show that they're obviously not there yet. And I think angry and annoyed are two different things, because I feel like my anger has dropped down a lot, but I still do get annoyed. But on the outside, it's much more difficult to see if you're annoyed. I think obviously like a person would be able to tell, okay, he doesn't get angry at all, like spending time with him. But then you wouldn't know if that other person gets angry or annoyed inside. He might be like inside, but that would not show.
But I think
that's a tricky one.
With anger and annoyance, even once you've dealt with it and once you come to a certain point of like understanding, it's very easy to be much more aware of it. Even though it arises.
For sure.
And the minute it arises, you can like be like, oh, okay, look, I'm angry. And like, I'll just let this pass, just let that emotion pass.
And that itself, just being aware of the anger, decreases it by like 90%.
Yeah, I think that's lacking in a lot of people in society.
I think that should be like one of the first steps. I don't know, like a professional anger management in the psychology and all. I think awareness should be like the first step. Like just when you're aware of it, you don't even have to like suppress it. When you're like, aware, okay, I am angry now. Then you know, like that knowing itself like brings it down.
There's a certain sense of peace that comes with when you like recognize that you're angry or annoyed, and where you just let it be and you just let it.
You don't suppress
pass. You don't suppress it. It's just a fleeting moment or emotion where you just let it go.
Yeah.
And then there's a very peaceful moment right after that, following that.
For sure.
Where you know you did the right thing.
Yeah, I think that's a easy practice to do also. I mean, easy in the sense you can always do it. No, in the sense like there are, I think, enough and more moments throughout the day which will annoy you and make you angry. But usually what happens is you get lost in it. It's a whole other process to be like, okay, I'm angry, but why am I angry? Yeah, that's a whole other thing. I feel like because most of us, what we would do is like blame something outside, no, like like this person, this shouldn't have happened, and even if, like we can do that, but then I think another sense in us should click, like, okay, I reacted to this because I was expecting this, and now it has like made me really angry. When this scenario is not really the problem, but it's my reaction now.
Its expectation is what's causing
for sure.
the annoyance in the first place.
That's the way.
Because you're expecting the world and certain people to be in a certain way that wouldn't annoy you.
Yeah.
Or like you want this in this way, and then that's what's going to make it a good day for you.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what's going to make it a good time, or like, you know, you wake up and be like, oh, I wish this was a good day. And then you expect the world to really shift in a way that will make it a good day for you, which is really unrealistic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I want to get into this too. Like, I think this world, like this platform or like this society, whatever where we live in a society. And in this society we live in, majority of the people, I don't think, like there are going to be some wholesome, really good value-minded citizens, but there's also going to be a set of notorious people, like a set of bad individuals who I don't think they're bad at their core, but I think they've developed so many bad qualities, like it's become a reflex. And these kind of people exist, and it's unrealistic to believe that those kind of people don't exist, because I feel like people get upset, including myself sometimes, when I see people who are wrong, like whose actions are clearly wrong. But I think it's important to realize that it is the kind of world we live in. Like our society is not 100% wholesome, and it's an unrealistic expectation to have 100% wholesome society.
There's a lot of people that are bad inherently, as in they've picked up, over the years, and now they're just bad people. I'm also sure there are a lot of people that are misled.
Yeah.
And then who also act out of just ignorance.
Yeah.
And it's unrealistic to think that everyone is like you, basically. It's unrealistic to think that everyone has the same mindset and same views on the world.
Yeah, and then I just want to bring up this activism thing also, like we were talking about it earlier also.
Yeah.
I think definitely it's like a noble thing in the sense, like, because you want to promote something wholesome, something good, but also I think a lot of people get upset over that, like not just like low-key upset, but I think like it affects them deeply, like they can't sleep at night because of some issues. And I think if it gets to you up to that level, and you are not directly maybe even involved in it, but it gets to you to that level, I think you have to like distance yourself from that scenario at that point. Because it's one thing to fight for what you believe in, and it's another thing to be emotionally lost in it.
Do you think...
one second. I think it stopped. Oh, no, it didn't. My bad. Okay, continue.
Do you think a lot of them are that way because they feel very strongly about whatever is happening? Like they feel very strongly and they relate to it so much on a personal level that they can't really remove themselves from the situation and look at it from outside.
For sure. But I think it's important to remove yourself from the situation and look at it. And that itself is like the first step of spirituality, I think. Like just the scenario is happening, but then like step back and look at it. Like it's almost like, don't be the driver while you are in the road and like there's honking and everything's happening. Just go to the back seat and just look at what's happening. And so once you just remove yourself and just become the observer, you can distance yourself from the scenario. Then you will act more with logic and reasoning rather than with emotion. I think like making decisions, I think everyone knows making decisions based on like those sudden emotions which come is not a good idea.
I think it's definitely more effective if they look at the bigger picture. If they want to make a change, it's definitely more effective than acting on emotion. When it comes to activists and even people who feel strongly about things.
Like a change is important, but it's also important to like look after yourself. So in the sense, if you also get emotionally involved in it, I think you won't help the scenario or yourself.
For sure.
The best way is to like I don't know, this is again like a personal belief, because I think the best way is to like move away from the scenario and then make the decisions. Still actively work for it, but don't be so emotionally engaged in it, because we are never going to fix the world. And the issues are never going to stop.
But I think we spoke about this. There are people who are genuinely, trying to make a difference. And I think there are the usual people who are just hopping on board for the, it's just the cool thing
for the trend of it. But that's also normal. That's also what this world is, I guess.
That's also something you can't stop or get worked up on. This whole, we were talking about beliefs before this.
Beliefs, I think we did a pretty good job at it.
But what do you think of the whole agnostic sense of...
I think I really respect that approach, because even my dad had like, he was an atheist before, but also he was an atheist because that made the most sense to him. Like when I was small, I would have like even when I was like 13, 14, I would have like deep conversations with him. And what I noticed is this guy is following atheism or like this particular belief system because it makes the most sense to him. He has logically reasoned with it. And more than Buddhism, more than Christianity, more than any other religion, this is what makes most sense to him. He's not blindly following it. He's questioned it enough, and this is what he's going to stick with. And I can definitely respect that.
But I think a lot of people fail to realize that even atheism is a belief, right? Atheism is a belief that there is no God. So you're 100% sure that there is no God.
And just because you can't prove it doesn't make it not true. And if you believe that there is no God, that itself is a very hardcore belief.
It is.
And the same thing goes to, I guess, life after death. You can't really prove that there is. I think you can prove up to a certain extent, but again, you can't prove it up to like in the scientific method. You can't. I mean, honestly, people haven't been able to prove it that well. So it's a gray area. So taking either side would make it a belief. It's not. You can't know it.
You can't know it.
I think a lot of people get offended. I mean, people who hold science up to a huge degree, some of them at least who I've talked to, get offended when you say like there is life after death, almost because it threatens their belief now. It's almost become this other kind of religion. I think out of everything, the agnostic approach, I mean, I can personally respect that, because they've come to a decision after looking at this thing. I can never really know, so I'll just be open to it.
I think my views are very agnostic in that sense. I don't want to put like a label on it and be like, I identify with it and stuff. But then, I think I'm very open to everything. So if I'm open to atheism, I'm open to religion. And I just don't believe that there's any way really to prove it. So, I don't think it can be proven in this lifetime, but I'm definitely open to, hearing. I respect your beliefs. I respect all the other ideas that people, come with.
Yeah.
But it's difficult for me to say, this is the way, and this belief that I have is 100% correct belief, and it's a bit nonsensical to me to think like that.
Yeah, you said it's difficult to believe one belief, no?
Yeah, it's difficult for me to say, this person is saying this, so this is the way, or this is definitely the way to the truth, or it's difficult for me not to be open about it.
Ah, yeah. So I remember where I not completely disagree, but where I disagree with you is with your approach is if you don't pick one and try one, you would never really know. But again, in order to even pick one, I think there has to be a factor where you dive into it. No?
But I think that's where the part comes where I don't believe we can know in this life. So I believe there's no real point in getting worked up over disagreeing beliefs or whatever.
Yeah.
Might as well just live your life to the fullest in the present. But I think spirituality is very important. I think you can learn a lot about yourself. It definitely it's the biggest thing that happened to me definitely in my life. Just the changing of the thought process and the mindset. It will help you, I think, get over a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Because then you're actually dealing with the root problem without rather just focusing on a distraction. No? Because otherwise it's kind of like you're going for a distraction. Eh?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, say you get into, say you watch a lot of movies, or I don't know, like you can like distract yourself with feel good stuff, or you can like binge it, or you can like, hang out with friends. But then again, you are not looking at what the problem is.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people are constantly just thinking ahead, as in they're thinking to the next moment. Not a lot of people are like in the present.
Yeah.
They're constantly like looking like what's next. Like even like if it's the next minute, they're like, okay, so this is what I'm planning for, and that's what's next.
And I think that's there in all of us, no?
Yeah,
like
I have it a lot for sure. It's very difficult to be present.
Yeah, you have to build awareness like as throughout the day as much as you can in order to like come back to this moment again.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are like racing off to the future or to the past.
And a lot of people have this idea of like, if I get here to this goal, then that will make me happy.
Yeah.
But we've seen that when people do get there, it's not all that they imagine.
Yeah. And I think that's the illusion which is necessary to break, to like a lot of people.
Yeah, I think this was in Soul, the movie.
Ah, okay.
It is a story about.
Don't say. I mean, spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler. Just like a
okay.
tiny story. It's about this young fish who's swimming around, and he comes to this older fish, and he asks the older fish, where's the ocean? Which way is the ocean?
Yeah.
And the older fish is all confused, and he goes, what are you talking about? You're in it. And the young fish says, no, this is just water. I want the ocean. Can you point me in the direction of the ocean? And the older fish just leaves because he realized that the younger fish, he's always constantly looking for something bigger when he's already there, and this present moment is the same as probably what the next future moment is going to be.
It's a good story. I think it's good.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are that, and then when they do get to that goal and they realize that it doesn't make them feel the way they thought it would be, I think that leads to a lot of depression and a lot of conflict with themselves and within themselves.
And I think this conversation came up in the last podcast also with regards to like even Jim Carrey and like Mike Posner and all these like artists who got to where they really wanted to get in life, and then they were like, oh, is that it? Yeah.
But I think all of us are victims of this, including me, of not living exactly in the moment. It's very difficult.
Yeah, no, it is. It is again a skill. I don't think you can just decide to live in the moment and the rest of your life live in the moment. Yeah. It is also a skill to be developed. So there has been a lot of links with psychedelics and spirituality in like the West. It's been like, and especially before, like a few years ago when I was like looking into podcasts which talked about spirituality in US and all that, there were with Buddhism, there were so many which were to do with psychedelics.
Sadhguru said this, right? It's like you're living in this walled off. I think I told you this.
Yeah.
You're living in this house, mansion, and it has this huge wall around it, and it's walled off. And you've never seen anything beyond that wall. So you've lived your entire life within the confines of this wall. And let's say someone gives you a trampoline,
Yeah.
and this is a drug or
Yeah.
psychedelic or whatever, and then you jump on it, and now for the first time you're able to see beyond the wall, and you can see what exists beyond it. And but you'll eventually come down because it's trampoline.
Yeah.
And then once you come down, even though you can't get there again,
You remember.
you're aware of what you saw, and you're aware of what you.
Oh, that's a good one.
and
Okay. So
experience.
he described it as a trampoline because that's
Yeah.
so brief. No, that's
Yeah.
like a few seconds.
Yeah.
Then what did he tell for like his practice or
Yeah.
spirituality?
So you're aware of what exists. So that will definitely change the way you think. That will definitely, help you relax certain thoughts of yours that you held on to. Like,
Yeah.
this is it. But that's again, stimulating yourself with substances. So what he was saying is there should definitely be a way to get there and to see that without taking anything external and putting it in your body. And I completely agree. I'm sure there is a way, a much harder way for sure, than just popping a pill or,
But also much more solid way, I guess.
Yeah.
No? Yeah.
probably a way that you can get there and stay
And
there.
stay there for a long period of
For a
time.
long
At least,
period
yeah.
of time, yeah. So I think if you're, I think psychedelics definitely can be of benefit, but it depends on the person again. Anyone can abuse it. If you are using it to, get high or abuse it, then I
Yeah.
don't think that's the way. But if you've done it and then you've seen and you've learned certain things and you've taken the lessons,
Yeah.
you're not constantly, abusing it and just for the feel good nature of it, then yeah, sure.
And
I think
And also, like, since there is like a different effect on different people, it's kind of dangerous. It's you should also know like the danger of it before like very liberally like trying it out
Trying.
completely. Yeah, you should know like, oh, these things can happen. Like I can have a bad trip. I can go on something really bad. Like there is a possibility of it. So like know the risks if you are willing. If you really want to try it. No.
yeah,
Yeah.
we are in no way condoning
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Not at all.
But I think in a lot of countries, I think they've legalized, weed obviously, and they're legalizing shrooms
Because there have been proven benefits.
Yeah.
No, they've scientifically like observed certain benefits which are there. As long as you're not abusing it, I feel like I don't know. I think with me, and I don't think this is like a Buddhist approach per se, but I think I'm very hedonistic in that sense. Like if I believe pleasure lies somewhere, I have to like go behind and like see. Like I've noticed like in the past, everywhere I believed pleasure lied, everywhere I believed pleasure was, I had to go and completely indulge in it to see it wasn't there. Like I couldn't just tell myself, no, it's not there, and just go and like go about the other stuff. Like I had to like dive deep into it to see. I don't really think for everyone that's the thing.
Yeah, I don't think I have that in the sense that it's like I've never got the urge to go and try any of these substances because I feel like I've got a lot. I've learned a lot from it, but I feel like there's not much else I can do by going and trying something else or trying some other drug or it's like I've already gathered the information necessary. Now it's just up to me to put it into integrate it into my mindfulness. I think that's with anything though, right? I think you can, if you were to abuse sugar or coffee or any substance.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also another thing I've been wondering about. Like anything up to anything too much is not good for you. But I have a problem with that though. Like anything too much is not good for you. Yeah.
Including what do you think?
Yeah, but I also think like certain external substances are like definitely like that applies to absolutely everything external. But I don't know if it's the same for that for a spiritual approach. For example, like is it wrong to always like try to bring yourself to the moment? is there an extreme when it comes to those kind of approaches? For physical, it's a fact. You don't really have to even, yeah. I'm not talking about forcing yourself. Or
I think
anything.
anything external you're putting
into your body
is definitely
for sure. It has to be done to
shouldn't be
body.
abused at all.
Every medicine is a poison in small amounts. Yeah.
In large amounts.
Yeah, no. Wait. Every medicine is actually a poison, but just in small amounts.
Yeah.
If you take any medicine in large amounts, it will kill you. Yeah. Yeah, but I don't think that's true for certain practices. I think with regards to like the mind dimension, you can really stretch. But physical ones, obviously you cannot. Like if it stretches, it will break. But this, where you can grow within, is actually much more vast.
I think that's the exception.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So the next one is friendship. Yeah. Wow. What's your take on that? Like me personally, I think friendship used to mean like a lot to me before than it does now. Like in the sense, I used to hold my friends in like a very high place when I was smaller, and it has decreased. I mean, not that I lost faith in them, but I also realized that it's unrealistic and unnecessary to hold people in such, because the only reason you call them like a really close friend is that you can have your expectation kind of fulfilled, no?
You hold them in high regard and you expect something.
Yeah, like in the sense, okay, going back to me, I noticed like at a point, like even when I was like in and out of like relationships, I've held my friends in like gave them more importance than even like my best friend, like would be something, it held more importance to me, you know. But since of recently, I've been questioning that, in the sense like we because we also can be very needy with friends, no?
Yeah, we definitely can.
And we can get really agitated if friends are not behaving or like living up to our expectations.
Yeah, but I think that's what you're describing is the wrong kind of friendship, right?
Yeah,
I think
for
friendship,
sure.
Friendship should never be taxing on either one of the people. It should just be void of expectation. You know, let's say you go like months without talking.
Yeah.
You really wouldn't not be friends anymore.
Oh yeah.
Because that person might be dealing with something that he needs to deal with by himself. But you can always reach out and ask, hey, what's going on. But I think it's very important to not have people that you call friends that would bring out a very toxic side of you.
Yeah.
In the sense that they would expect things of you, or they would expect you to act in a certain way that would conform to a certain expectation that they have.
Yeah. Who would promote like a bad side of you, I think.
Yeah.
Another thing, like for example, like if he promotes, like he's the kind of friend to be kind of violent and angry, and then you hang around with that kind of crowd, and you notice like you also in your personality, like little by little, can go into that side. Yeah, that's one. That's another thing. And
if
like
he's
what you
constantly
said,
bringing you down, or if he's he should a friend, I believe, should definitely be able to call you out on your stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean constantly not being happy for you, or like constantly bringing you down. Then that's not friendship.
Yeah,
that's.
I resonate with you a lot with what you said, May. Like, even though a lot of time passes, you still can just talk to that person and be okay, because that itself shows like there wasn't a lot of expectation then, no?
Yeah.
And like once you come again, like you can just relate. I think it's just it's a nice connection to have, but also it doesn't have to be even though ideally there is no expectation. That's really hard to do in like real life. Like you do expect them, to show up when you need them.
Yeah.
And when they don't, you can actually feel betrayed. And I think that itself is a problem. Like they don't have to show up.
Yeah.
You wanting them to show up itself means that you are expecting a certain distance from them.
it's like it's nice if they show up, but
yeah.
if they don't show up, it shouldn't change your views of the friendship.
And I think so what you have to do is you shouldn't attach to this idea of a friend too much. You shouldn't identify with it too much. And that's like a whole other topic, I feel like, yeah.
You're saying attachment is the problem there?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You shouldn't expect so much out of them, no? Like they are this other person and maybe you can vibe with them. I think it's different. Like for me, it's mainly verbal and discussion based. Like all my friends, almost all of them, like I like, but then I also realize that's because there's a part of me I like, and that's what I really like. Maybe like I like the person I like. Even with you, like I like when I'm discussing things, when I'm like explaining myself, when I'm delving into topics. I like that state of being, and you also enjoy.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so it's like a mutual exchange we both do.
Yeah.
And that's why you are my friend. Like, I mean, I appreciate that you can bring out that side in me. But also, it's that side of me which I kind of really like. And so, say there's another person who really cannot talk maybe in that way. So maybe I wouldn't really get too close with them because I wouldn't benefit from that relationship in any way. I think it's wrong to say that we can be friends with people we don't benefit. It's a hard one to say, no?
Yeah, I think. See, that's the thing, though. Like, so I've been lucky to have good school friends and even good uni friends. But what I've come to realize is they are their own person in the end, right?
Yeah.
And let's say you do spend significant amounts of time away from each other, then the next time you meet them, they might not think the same way. They might have grown, whether it be professionally or spiritually or whatever would change their headspace.
Yeah.
And they would be completely different people with different conflicting ideas.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean, I don't think that should affect your friendship at the core, because it's very hard to expect another person to have these similar ideas. And I have this problem. I have this problem when it comes to, I think, relationships and men, okay. I expect a lot of the person to, be similar and, have the similar vibe and have the similar ideas.
I think it's only when that happens you can vibe with them.
Yeah.
Like when they're different, you can't vibe with them. But you like the fact that you are vibing with them. You like that feeling. I definitely do. Like I like the feeling that I'm vibing with someone. But
everyone does.
Yeah. But then that's also up to a certain extent. I don't know if selfish is the word, but it is somewhat selfish, no? Because now that other person is different, you can't vibe with him, and now you're affected about that.
And it's unrealistic.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But I think at the core, what makes a friend is ultimately how that person makes you feel, and you value that feeling. So that's what I think. Because it's a beautiful feeling, that vibing kind of feeling kind of thing. And so in order to access this feeling more, we label them as a friend. That way we will come into more scenarios where we meet each other.
And it's it's definitely easier to relate to people with the same sort of, mindset and, same vibe. And I guess it's more
natural,
fun. You'd rather hang out with them than hang out with
For sure. And that, I think that's
where the problem arises.
Yeah, that itself is like the problem, no?
Yeah.
The problem arises when they like change or you change and now you can't vibe anymore. And that's like this part. Because,
Yeah. But I think the key is to understand that just people are different.
Yeah, for sure.
You can't really expect anything.
Yeah, you shouldn't, no? I mean, that's unnecessary. That's, up to a certain extent, selfish. That's your ego again talking there, no?
You can definitely, relate or tell them, the way you're thinking.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. They have to be receptive and open-minded enough to understand what you're saying in the first place. When you say that, if you're trying to explain it to someone, they have to be, receptive to it and then see where you're coming from and still be your friend after everything's said and done.
Yeah, but also
it's a long process.
So what you are describing is basically you first of all have to be open to shit, no?
Yeah.
Like you have to be like open with yourself, and I think a lot of people are not even that, so they can't really mend a friendship, and I think like it's different levels. Like what we consider as a friend, maybe for another person, what a friend is like is different.
It's different,
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
I think a lot of emotion is attached to friendship as well, right? Like people, you can have a friend who is very emotional and very, cares deeply about you, and he would consider himself a good friend.
Yeah.
And he probably is.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Continue.
it would not necessarily mean that he is open to this idea that you're an entirely different person.
Oh, I completely agree there. Yeah.
So there could be conflict in the sense that he might not understand, like, let's say he was to act this way for you, but you might not act the same way in return for him. But that's not out of not being a good friend. That's just that you're like a completely different person.
Yeah. See,
so emotion and understanding is two completely different things when it comes to friendship.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But there's also something really attractive about that.
There's.
Yeah, but that's something else altogether, because even that comes with like an expectation. Even though it seems like a solid, beautiful thing, you can't just be a one-sided bokkem yalu. Like the other person will always expect that also from you. Yeah.
I think if the two were to come together, then that would be a lot more of a solid friendship.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you're emotionally also invested in this friendship and you understand, we have a broader mind, you understand the other person's differences and then still respect them for it, I think that would make for a good friendship.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a good combo, no?
Yeah. And not a lot of friends, some do for sure, but not a lot of them like constantly help you to grow, right?
In the sense?
In the sense that they might not support you, like maybe not like, maybe they aren't aware of it, but they might not constantly, support you or, help you to grow or call you out on your stuff and help you change. I think that's very important if you're a friend,
Yeah.
Because no one else is going to do that.
Yeah, for sure. But that rarely happens, no? Especially because you need the kind of one, you need to know your friend, like need to know his scenario and all very well. And the other thing, you also have to be in like a good place.
Yeah, sure.
So you can advise him. And I think it shifts from time to time. Like sometimes you might be in a bad place, and then that's where like a good friend would like, but then you should also know the time to like ask for help, you like receive it, be open to like receiving it. And you should also definitely know the time to like give it. And I think like and the other thing is like not being afraid of how you would be judged by that other friend because you say what you believe is true.
Yeah.
I think that's important, no? Because we can pretend to be like, we are on the same vibe when you believe something different. I think it's might as well tell what you believe in, because if that other person is going to reject you based on like what you believe in, then there's no real point.
So the other person needs to be in a place and have an open mind to accept what you're saying in the first place. For you to do that, for you to call them out on something or advise them or tell them something, they should be ready to listen and understand and see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
As well as I think your intentions need to be pure. You need to be telling them out of pure intention and good intention, and not to like hurt them or bring them down.
Or some superiority complex or something like that. Yeah.
So I think friendship is a very complex thing.
It is. It's definitely it's very different. I think from like scenario to scenario. So we are speaking of our personal experience, but another person's personal experience could be like very different to that.
I think though, when you compare to a relationship, a good friendship seems a lot more like simpler.
Oh yeah, for sure, no? I completely agree.
In a good way.
I think that's a good way. It is simpler because you expect less out of it.
Yeah.
Like you can be definitely comfortable with what your friend is, but for a partner, more often than not, you want them to be a specific way. It's really hard to distance yourself from like a partner.
Do you think a relationship built on a good friendship as a foundation is a better relationship than one that is not?
A relationship built on a good. I don't know. I don't know. But okay, then that comes to the fact of like we had to define what a friendship is, and we had to define what a relationship is. Like what's the key difference there?
No, so first, let's say two people are friends and good friends, and then later it becomes like a romantic.
Yeah. But what's the difference? What's the difference between
The transition. What's the transition?
yeah? What's that? That's like I think in a relationship there is a lot more intimacy
Yeah.
than with a friendship. Or is it so? I don't know.
And there's a lot more expectation. Yeah?
Yeah, no,
That's
for sure. But okay, so the deepest way you can connect with another person, is it through a relationship or through a friendship?
Through a friendship.
It's a good one, no?
Yeah. I think through a friendship in general, but with the right relationship, I think it would be a relationship.
What?
I think in general, if you take a majority, it would be friendship is the answer to that.
Mm-hmm.
You could connect with the person more through friendship, but maybe in a strong, completely non-toxic relationship, I think it's probably a relationship.
Perhaps in a relationship, what happens is, again, we are very much caught in the feeling part of it. We are very much caught in the love or like romance or like the where you feel really elevated, and that person is making you feel really elevated, and that is really what you are valuing more than really this other person. Like this other person is this way, and because they are this way and they are yours, you feel really good. Initially, at least.
Yeah.
But then as it goes on, I think what it is like a mutual understanding of each other and also circumstance. Like life, it's simpler for two people who understand each other to like live together. And they've shared this intimate kind of connection, which was a lot to do with like feeling and state of being.
Yeah, I think the difference here is in the two is that when you're in a relationship, you're in this state of like it's like a bubble, right? You're in this state of high.
Yeah. You are.
At least in the start, at least. But that's not there in a friendship, right?
Yeah, that's never there. Yeah.
Yeah. So this state of high and this alteration of your reality and the way you see the other person.
It's also like somewhat like a drug.
Yeah, it is a drug. And then I think that when it comes down, because that will eventually fail. Then basically it's a friendship again, right?
Yeah, but knowing that you had that intimate experience,
I think that's
and there are moments of that intimate experience also which comes here and there, no?
I think people miss that a lot, and they crave to go back to that feeling of that heightened love or whatever it is they felt to the other person.
And I think more often than not, what happens is they miss that state of being. And what, like, when relationships go downhill, what's happening is now they feel like the opposite of what they felt.
Yeah.
And now they've lost faith in that other person because the other person can't make themselves feel that way.
Yeah.
So they'd rather just leave. That would be like the easy approach. Yeah.
It's like if you strip away that sense, if you strip away that whole feeling that comes with a relationship and love, it would basically essentially be a friendship at the core.
Yeah.
And people fail to realize that even though that part of it fades over time, this much more important base of this friendship that hopefully they cultivated during this time is probably more than worth it than that sense of high that you get.
I think, and this is again not really this is my take on it, looking at again in like a Nibbana kind of sense, because basically Nibbana is like the death of ego, like the 100% death of ego, where your mamatve or your sense of I is completely destroyed. I think at that point where whoever you see, now you are not seeing that other person in order to vibe with them or in order to feel good, or you are not doing it for anything. So like, for example, say again it's conceptual because I'm obviously not enlightened. Yeah, when you come to terms with when you come in contact with this other person, you have absolutely no expectation of them. You have no expectation of how they're supposed to behave, like because you are not looking for a high, you are not looking to vibe either.
Yeah.
You are just looking at that person and you can completely accept them absolutely for who they are, even though they cannot even do that to themselves. And more often than not, I think it's profound when you come in contact with those people. Yeah, because you know they don't want you to be anything else.
Yeah. Do you think that understanding of that has like dwindled with time? Like, do you think it has like reduced a lot? If you look back, 50, 60 years ago,
In a sense,
this sense of understanding and love of a relationship,
okay.
of getting into a relationship and what it stands for and what it means.
Yeah, I think it has gone down a lot in the sense because sex has become like the major factor now, and yeah, but I think more than sex, like love and
Lust,
like
you mean?
no, I mean not even lust. I think this intimate connection two people can share. I'm not saying it's pure, but I'm saying it's much more pure than what sex is.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
As it's much more of a positive. Like there are these low highs and these high highs, if that makes sense. Like you can overeat and it will feel good, like oh my god, like such good. But that's not a wholesome kind of high.
Yeah.
And I think sex is somewhere there where you can like have sex throughout. But again, it will still be a high, but it won't be a very wholesome high.
Yeah, because the emotional connection is definitely much more valuable than the physical one.
Yeah.
In any sense, I think anything to do with the mind and emotion is much more important than anything physical.
Yeah.
In any sense.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. But do you think it's that because people back then had this idea of if you were to like get into a relationship and marry or whatever, do you think they had this idea of like this is it now, you can't really get away from this because that was like the culture back then.
Yeah.
So that's why they're stuck with the other person and not out of understanding. And maybe now it's much more of like a
Yeah. I think a lot of choice is not necessarily a good thing. Like they didn't have a lot of choice back then. I mean, you had to stick with it.
Yeah.
I don't think they were necessarily happier, but it's kind of a lot more hectic if you really truly believe that there's someone else out there and you keep on switching and this thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were happier, but if they actually came into terms with it, I mean, provided I don't think everyone did, but if they did, I think that would be much better than going on this entire journey and trying to find someone again to fit your expectations, because that would be much more of a tiring and disappointing experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that culture of back then is it's easier to have a good relationship in that culture than it is to have a good one here, because the chances, whether it be that they were conformed to a cultural idea of you can't separate or whatever.
For sure.
Even if it was that would like mean that the success rate of being ending up in even a good relationship is higher than it is now, because now it's so easily people are just not really looking to make things work.
I think right now what's happening is people are very much into physical pleasure, like even like I think we've advanced. I think science has succeeded most in advancing in that sense.
Yeah.
Like the music, it's superb. I mean, by superb, I don't mean the style or anything. I mean, our recording instruments are really good and we can like really tweak it up, change it up. The variety is crazily good. The food, like there's like, because all the cultures and globalization has happened, there's access to so many different types of food and movies, and like there's so much content we can devour, but also there's something empty there.
Everything's just at our fingertips, right? You can just take whatever you want, but there's something very
for sure, and
shallow and like void about that.
Exactly,
because there's no real I guess thought or work going into getting there. Everything's just easily accessible to anyone.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, and it brings us to the last topic, which is just basically a bunch of short-term highs, no?
Yeah.
Everything's like short-term highs are just a tap away. And even though that is the case, people are a lot more unhappy now, at least. I mean, if statistics are showing, like people are more depressed, like mental illness is more and more of a thing. Yeah, sure, you can say it's because of more testing, but definitely people are not happier than they used to be. I mean, you can't say that.
Yeah. I think that
Even getting all the pleasure in your fingertips hasn't really helped in like a deep sense.
yeah, I think it is, if anything, it has, had the opposite effect. If you take anything, even if you take music, people are just looking for that short, that car ride. They just want a cool beat to, move around to. And that has ended in like artists, just producing. They don't really care about the content they put out. Right?
They just want like a beat, a catchy beat, and like some words.
Throw some words in there. But if you look back, you'll realize that a lot of them had like strong feelings in what they wrote and like the music they made.
Oh, interesting.
They poured a lot of themselves and their emotion and work into it. And now it's just like, everything's at your fingertips. You press
that's interesting. So basically, there was more mind involved in it than just that sensory part. Like there was more.
There was much more of a human part. There was much more of a, where they thought and then put themselves and their emotions and their lessons into it. Rather than just, going out and pressing a few buttons.
It was more personal, no?
For sure.
And it was more delicate and it was more, you can enjoy it more. There are subtleties which are not present
in today's.
Yeah. Because today it's all about that quick high. And I think we are a generation which is trapped in that quick high. From social media to getting that quick tap, the like, and like quick instant replies where it gives you that dopamine hit. Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's a trap. It's like you're trapped in that.
And the worst part is a lot of people, majority of the people aren't aware of it.
Yeah.
They just go on about, go about just constantly doing it like one after the other and just. Yeah.
But I think also right now, not everyone, but there's a huge portion of people who I think because they have everything at their fingertips and still they are not happy, they're starting to question this entire system and they're trying to look into it more. Yeah. So I think it does work both ways. Now I think we've reached almost like a boiling point where people have like come up to a stage and be like, no, like we need a change. Like, is this the best we can do? And And
do you think now? Do you think that people are much more questioning and like even with regards to religion or spirituality or whatever? Do you think they are much more questioning and they are much more advanced in the sense than they were before?
I think it changes from time to time. I think right now the period we are entering, it's definitely the people who are questioning are increasing. Even if they weren't before, like people are developing those qualities and they're starting to question. And I think 10 years ago, that was not the case. Like right now, there's a lot of people who are doing it. And it won't be a majority. I don't think it'll ever be a majority. But even that minority is increasing in number.
Yeah, because back then, I guess, everything wasn't easily accessible or available to you. So your goal was to... they probably wish that it was. Yeah. But now that it is, they're realizing that it's not really all that.
And also because of communication, we can see like people who have achieved it and still talk about their problems. No? So, I mean, there's not a big gap between the people who made it. The people who made it can easily, like a lot of them have spoken out and said, it's not what you think it is. Yeah. While a long time ago, it would be probably difficult for a person who is down there to access a person who's up there. No? So they could live in an illusion till they get there like 20, 30 years later. And now it's too late to do anything about it. Right now, people have all that information, and some of them, I think, are processing it kind of right and asking the real questions.
So now people have all the information, they have the proof and the means of, looking at it and seeing it, but I think they just lack the awareness, a lot of people.
Yeah, and that's a quality to be developed. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's around 1.5 hours. Shall we call it this thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you enjoyed this podcast, please like, and if you think it's worth sharing, please do share and leave a comment and let us know.
Yeah, and check out the previous podcast.
Oh, yeah. So keep in touch, subscribe for more content like this. I will be doing more stuff with more talks with guests and different kind of guests. If you are interested in like talking and having a conversation, please do message me and I'll get in touch with you. But also, I want the content not to be like political, or I want it to be a lot spiritual and investigation based. So if you think you can put something on the table and you are interested in having a conversation, I'm more than happy to have like discussions on any topic, as long as it is like looking into yourself and it is within that spiritual kind of theme. Also, necessarily, you don't have to agree with anything we say, because
sure.
even we don't agree completely
with each other.
But I think it's really important to talk about it and discuss, because that's the only way we can really communicate it. And if we just hold on to our beliefs just tightly without really talking about it, like what's the point? You could be wrong your entire life and no one would really
sure.
talk
So
about
feel
it.
free to disagree with anything we said and be open to, discuss it.